Well, hello, visitors to and denizens of the YouTubeverse. I'm John, your social hermit in the woods, and in this video, Sprouts 102, I'm going to tell you what you can do if you're running your sprout towers um, and you start getting evidence of low-grade bacterial contamination. Um, in particular, if you're going to be running these in a continuous culture, there's only one stack here, but this varies. I can have up to 4 sprouting trays going at a time, and I have this running continuously over the entire winter as my source of fresh greens. Even if you don't have a problem to start with, under those conditions, you can have very, very low amounts of incoming bacterial material. As I was saying, you can have even very low levels of bacterial contamination to the point where you wouldn't notice and they wouldn't be a problem. But because you're running this in a constant culture, where was I again? Constant culture. Because you're running this in a constant culture, it will have a propensity to build up over time. And you'll notice this through a couple of things. Reduced yield. If you normally have a sort of a certain amount of yield and you start finding that yield is going down, the plants are a little smaller, they're taking an extra day to reach maturity. That's certainly one potential sign of it. The most obvious ones, though, are uh, you get a slight cloudiness or haziness. When you pour the water on, it won't look clean. The water will immediately look a little bit hazy. That's a very bad sign. And a lot of times there's a very slight smell as well, which you'll notice because normally this should basically just smell like whatever the plant is, radish or alfalfa or clover, and have quite a very nice fresh green smell. And if it has something not quite right, you probably need to do something about this. The other thing I will comment is that not all seed types are equally impacted. And in fact, in my case, after having looked at how this is occurring, I'm pretty sure that the low level contamination I'm getting is coming in on a type of seed which really doesn't show a lot of evidence of it. But another seed type, in particular the daikon that I have, appears to be very susceptible to this. So if I have a mixed stack here and I have a little bit of this bacteria going around in there, if I get a tray of daikon, it doesn't look right. Okay, so is there a simple solution to this? Okay, so your solution to this is not going to be anything exotic at all. It's merely going to be a very small amount of household bleach and pre-rinsing the seeds. But we'd like to do this in a way where we aren't getting bleach into effectively into our foodstuffs. So how do we do that? Well, here's the way I do it. What you're going to do is you're going to put your batch of seeds in there that you're about to start in a fresh tray in some hot water with a little bit of bleach, and you're just going to pre-soak it for a couple of minutes. So you're going to take 1 measure of seeds, put it in your container, and add roughly 250 mils or 1 cup of hot tap water. And then the usual guidelines are about 1 teaspoon of bleach per your 250 mils or your 1 cup. And you don't need to measure this exactly. It's not rocket science. There we go, about a teaspoon. And what you're going to do is you're going to let that sit in there, and it's surface treating the seeds. Let's deal with a couple of other points while we're waiting for that. First off, you don't want to drink bleach, obviously. Having said that, bleach is used. It's a recommended field expedient method for water purification. Very, very dilute bleach is a lot better for you than contaminated water. The second point is that bleach at the concentrations you buy it, which is already around usually 8% or 10% hypochlorite in domestic bleach, is pretty stable. However, when you dilute that way down in water, it's very, very unstable. Less than 24 hours, it has completely broken down and it's all gone. Even with all of that, what you're going to see is that when I do this, I'm going to both rinse it off here and I'll reiterate this, when I'm going to put this tray into my growing stack, I will start it at the lowest position so that it's getting the rinse water going straight from this tray down into the collection and not onto the other greenery. Okay, and by the time it rotates in the stack 12 hours later, you're good. There is mathematically there is no hypochlorite left, so all safe to do. How long do you let this sit? Well, uh, ballpark 10 minutes. 5 is probably okay, 15 is probably okay, but around 10 minutes. And just, you can give it a little stir if you want, but just let it sit there. One thing to bear in mind is if you already have an ongoing stack of sprouts growing and you start to have problems and you decide you want to do this, the bad news is I'm going to tell you from personal experience, having tried it several times, you really can't recover the ongoing stack. It's going to be very, very hard to do. Because of the way we're going to bleach just the incoming material, the pre-existing material, if it's already contaminated, will continue to re-inoculate the whole system. So you're going, bottom line, you're going to have to throw out everything that's currently growing, just toss it, wash all the containers, and then start doing this. And do this with every batch of seeds going on for a while. Depending on your level of contamination, you can do a batch of this and then stop bleaching for a while. In my case, because I'm running this month after month after month, if I stop bleaching during long-term cultivation like that, after a couple of weeks, I'll start to see symptoms again. And then that means I have to shut everything down. And because I don't want to do that, if I'm going to be running the stack more than a few weeks at a time, I really have just gotten in the habit of pre-bleaching all my seeds. It only takes an extra couple of minutes, and I get better yields by doing it. Okay, we've had our 10 minutes of bleach exposure time. And so now the way I like to do this is I like to get my bottom collector tray, set that down on the counter, put the fresh sprout tray in, and then drain my seeds into that. Now some of them are going to stick in the container here. That's fine. Touch more hot water. There we go. And rinse this out and set it aside. Now, why am I doing this into the bottom container and not just into the sink? You could, but by doing this, I'm also cleaning and sterilizing the bottom container as well. So it's just, I have the ability to do it. Why not sterilize other gear in your sprouter stack while you can? So we'll let that drip through. It really should only take 30 seconds or so, and we'll be ready for the next step. Okay, so our decontaminated seeds have drained. We've emptied out the collection dish. Now, as I said before, but I'm going to reiterate, now you'll note that I have placed my freshly decontaminated and still slightly bleachy seeds on the very bottom of the stack. And above that I put, in this case, one, but it could be 1, 2, or sometimes even 3 trays of growing sprouts you have above it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add this dose of daily watering, twice daily watering. And by doing it that way, what I'm ensuring is that any residual, a tiny amount of bleach on the freshly bleached seed layer, again, doesn't go down on the other plant material. Would it kill you if it did? No, it wouldn't. It's the amounts are so low and already so dilute that it's not a big deal, but I just prefer doing it this way. Also note, if you're really paranoid about it, at the stage where I rinsed this, before I brought it over to the stack, nothing says you couldn't rinse that again, but if you do, make sure that the water source you are using is not reintroducing your source of contamination. Well, there you go. Hopefully, if you've been having any trouble with your sprouts, this will give you some guidance on an easy way, simple, cheap, probably using things you already have in the house, safe, effective, to deal with that contamination. Even on things, what I found is that my alfalfa clover blend that I really like, I thought I got really good yields, but when I started doing this, I actually get, I would guess, maybe 30%, 20 to 30% more yield per tray off of bleached sprouts. And that makes a big difference. I actually Don't even need to do a full tray every day because I can't really keep up with it. Okay, well, with my assistance here, I think that's the end of this video. I hope that gave you some ideas. So until next time, this is John, your social hermit in the woods, saying goodbye.